Good morning, boys and girls. Here we meet again inside our own individual igloos. Goodness me, it's a chilly one. As if we didn't need something to get the blood pumping after the football club in a coma. Oh, hang on a second. Nice. Just going to make sure I'm on the right thing. Doesn't matter anyway for us. After yet another shocking game of football from Tottenham Hotspur, I have my own thoughts, but I am the font of generosity. I want to hear yours first. Be aware I will be using facts as well as feelings. Gentlemen, how are we? Tony V, bring back Timo, he says. And New Year, same old Tottenham, says Crispy. He may be onto something there, folks.
Happy New Year to both.
And to you, sir.
And to you, Chris. And to you, Breach.
Yeah, I don't need your life stories. So how did you get on last night? What time did you go to bed? The party must have gone on till dawn, I
thought. When had my anger subsided and I didn't want to walk into boardrooms and blow people up? What a total lack of shit that was. And any man who goes into a football game with three central defensive midfielders is never going to win a game of football. And that was pathetic. Thank God it was only the 1st of January, because I doubt there'll be a worse game in the following 364 days left of the year, as that was just shocking. What he went out to do was to not lose that game, but equally had no intention to win that game either. And it very much reminded me of Gareth Southgate for England, the tactics he deployed. And it was pathetic. It was an absolute joke. It was a disgrace to the money-paying, dedicated away fans that went all the way over to Brentford to watch that. And there's not a single positive that can come out of it.
I'm not going to argue with that. What did you think, Tony?
As excellently summed up as usual, Chris. As I stated on our little group chat at the end, I said, ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Brentford versus Brentford.
Yeah, it was funny actually that bit, because we went into Dad's Army mode as the comedy veered us away from a trip to Dignitas and a trip to Warmington on Sea. But what were your thoughts on what happened, Tony? Because we know it was dreadful. We know that they were bad, arguably bad. Well, probably not arguably. I think they were nailed on bad managerial decisions.
Absolutely. I mean,
what do you think we were watching?
Well, I think we were watching somebody who's desperate, whose first tactic is above all else, do not lose. Which, it's okay if you're a club in relegation trouble, and perhaps he thinks we are a club that may be in relegation trouble. Who knows? But that's the ethos of a club that's in a relegation scrap. If above all else, do not lose. It's totally baffling as to why Palhinha and Bentancur are in the same team at the same time. Literally, totally baffling to me. I looked at that and went, that's a team that is set up to get a draw, nothing more. That was all there was to that. And that was really disappointing, considering that, like yourself, H, I've been very much a case of, let's just be patient. Let's just give him time. Let's have a couple of transfer windows. Let's see where we go. That doesn't help our argument. That setup does not help our argument a great deal. So we've got not a lot else left with it, haven't we, after that?
Can I just come in? We might not be in a relegation battle, but had we won last night, and if we were fortunate enough to have got 3 points against Sunderland on Sunday, we could be up in 6th place. So
if I'd have got a bicycle for Christmas, I wouldn't be talking to you two, Nick.
Yeah, but that's
bombing
what
down.
I'm trying to say. He is naive to think that way. You should be going on the front, the forefoot.
I think it is naive. But what I'm saying to you is, listen, I'm not in charge here. I'm just trying to guide the conversation, which is a different thing, I hope. But tell me what you would have done differently, because what I'm saying to you is, I think it sucked. Right? That's my view. Right? I think it sucked. But given the resources, because look, Palhinha, he was hooked because basically he ran out of steam. he wasn't passing particularly accurately. I think his passing was as everybody else's was, which was poor, which somewhere in the sort of mid to early 70s percentage wise. The team to me didn't have any ideas. There was no attack. It was about containment. But this is the reality of the situation we're in. Right, I've got up this morning. I did a lot of washing. Right, this is the greatest piece of tedious anecdotal stuff I'm going to hit you with of all time. I did quite a lot of washing on the build up to Christmas. No real reason. I kind of like had gone off the board a little bit, and I had a lot of washing. I had a lot of clothes. And so this morning I got up and I was able to put on whatever I wanted. And bizarrely, I'm putting on the sweatshirt that I wore yesterday because it was probably to hand. But 3 weeks ago, I could have told you that exactly what my choices were of stuff that was washed, ironed, and hanging up in the wardrobe. What I had to wear, what was in the wardrobe. Not the shite that's on the floor that's covered in baked beans and I can't even share in the group. But what other choices were hanging up in the wardrobe for our highly esteemed Pinata, Thomas Frank? What would you have done differently? Would you have brought on Steve Perryman, as I suggested in the group? Would you have brought on Steve Archibald to be like our front line? But no, you couldn't because they're retired. So who is playing for us would you have brought on?
Well, if you'd wanted to be defensive and not lose the game, you could have gone 5 at the back, and that had allowed you 2 wing backs to push on and created some attacking.
Sorry, I hate to be a stickler for facts.
No, just listen to me.
No, I am listening to you, but who were the wingbacks? Because Spence couldn't pass the ball.
Well, if you put Danso in alongside Van der Ven and Romero, you've got 3 at the back, so it allows Porro and Spence to move forward. We're talking about what are the other options.
Porro was horrible.
Yeah, but that's not the question you asked. You asked what the different alternatives are, and I'm giving you one.
So you would have moved a player who had a horrible game into a different position.
That's not about the game that we saw. We were going into the game. What were the other options? Or we could have played 2 up front. If we'd have gone 5 at the back, you could have played Mwani up front alongside Richarlison, or you could have put Richarlison out on the left. You could have brought in Luca Barnett. There are plenty of options. It's just naive to think that there aren't.
Okay, well, I'm going to be naive then and say to you again, as with Porro, you're going to take a player who I would possibly give 3 out of 10 to on a very good day, because I do put the coins in the charity box occasionally. You're going to take a position. You're going to take a player like Richarlison, a 3 out of 10 player, and you're going to what do you want to call it? Shake the box, roll the dice on him playing in an improved manner. Listen, I'm not even going to go at you personally. It's more the mindset, the rationale. I'm struggling with the rationale that you could put Richarlison on top of the roof of the stadium, and it wouldn't make any difference.
Yeah, but it's all about the mindset of the players. What are they being told in the changing room before the game kicks off? And that's where Frank takes responsibility. He is the coach. He is the manager. They are playing to what his game plan is, and it sucks. The game plan is rubbish.
I think the game plan does suck. I don't hide behind that. I mean, listen, value for money, 0 out of 10. Entertaining to watch, 0 out. Excuse me, 0 out of 10.
You're effectively playing as your number 10. How ridiculous! How absolutely pathetic.
But I mean, look, the thing is, I've had conversations with numerous people, and normally when the game is on, I switch the WhatsApp off, if you like, mentally. Because if you want to talk to me during the bloody game, I'm happy to talk to you guys, and I'm happy to talk to people on the Substack. But I'm not an AI service, as you know. But the thing, I've got people I haven't spoken to Regis going, yeah, Spurs are shit. What's Frank doing? And my answer, because I did actually engage with them last night, and then what happened? Because I gave an answer to questions I was fielded. Oh, so you love him? He's your girlfriend. Please, people, stop. Stay away from dangerously hot things like kettles. You're going to hurt yourselves. What is it that you want this mindless moron, who was actually very good at Brentford? I'm happy with he's probably out of his depth. You can say what you want. You can tell me he's ugly. You can tell me he's got big ears. I don't mind. It's not because of mine. I just don't care. But tell me what it is that you expect a man with such infinitely limited resources. This lot, and I'm going to say this probably every 30 seconds for the rest of this tape, this lot finished 17th last season. This lot, bar Kudos or whatever the hell it is, So we're not talking about. Oh, but normally we're brilliant. We're not. We haven't been brilliant for about 2-3 years, and this squad is largely unchanged. So this is where I'm struggling. I'm not dying on a hill defending a man that I don't know and I don't really care about. And, you know, I've lost a lot of love for the club over the years because I'm not stupid. Spurs have always been my side. I joke about Villa being my second side. Absolute joke. But I'm looking at something which has only deteriorated. And now I'm suddenly going to wake up and say, well, it's Frank Wayne, the answer. Conte went back to Italy. I'll just get this out of the way because, you know, Conte went back to Italy. He's won again. He went. Jose Mourinho went to Roma. He's won. Pochettino went to PSG. He's won. The common denominator is Spurs is on a sinking slide down gently in for the under fives into the shallow, warm, cool of the pool. And you know the idea that suddenly that Frank has undermined the project, I'm really struggling with it. And as I say, it's no love. I don't know him. I feel cold towards him. But what I can't do is embrace this sort of anger, as I see it, towards a guy who's got such limited resources. If I gave Gordon Ramsay the best ingredients on the planet, I'd expect a really good ham sandwich. If I gave him a load of stuff that had flies and seagulls over it, it's not going to be nice whatever he tries to make, is it?
I've just sent you a picture in our group chat. Can you use technology to get that up on screen, or is that beyond us this morning?
It's definitely beyond us, and I didn't have my microphone on, so I'm probably sounding like I'm down the road. Never mind, it's early. Go on.
So I sent you, and it was when Frank was announced, and he put our principles: brave, aggressive, and attack. So where were the brave and where were the attacking in those principles? They are.
Well, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? You must know what I'm going to say, and you're not going to take this personally. You can't take it personally because you're a blue chip guy. You're a rock and roll star when it comes to business. He's not going to say on his first day, "Hi, everybody. This is going to be so shit. You'll be killing yourselves."
That's what his that is exactly what his football is. It is shit. It is beyond shit.
Yeah, but but your question was, he said that, and what have we got? I'm telling you, what did you expect him to say? I mean, Nuno Espirito Santo said, "I'm going to make you so proud. So proud." And he got sacked after, 17 games?
I had a friend there last night, diehard, goes home and away every week, and he said
Bruce Willis.
Away fans turned on Frank last night. He came over to Clapham. He said they were booing him, giving him pelters. This is a man who's managing himself out of that hot seat, I tell you. He's not clever enough to realise he can't read the room.
I don't think he can read all right. Tony, what do you think?
I think there's an element of both here, and this might sound horribly like I'm shoving splinters up my backside while sitting on the fence, but there's an element of both there. No, I'll just take the pain, H, because that's the sort of guy I am. There's an element of both here. I do feel that he's working with incredibly limited resources, but I also feel that, you know, as time is going on, the less and less convinced I am that he's getting the best out of them. That even like last night, this thing about what you said there, Chris, about this stuff. That's fine if you've got your full squad and you've got all your guys available, because if you've got that, you can definitely do that. And we've got once when you get the Kulu and Madison and what have you back, then you've got that sort of philosophy. When you don't have them, and when you look at them and go, shit, I said that, but there's no way I can do it with this lot because we'll just get murdered if we do. Then there's no way you can do that. And last night, I looked at that, and I just looked at the squad again, and I just looked at the bench, and honestly, yeah, 2 goalkeepers, and that then sort of like let's dig it's a slightly different sort of point, but let's go there. What else has he got to play with? Then, if that is as much as he's got to play with, then what he did last night was effectively put out his best team based on what was available. No, based on what was available.
Instead, though, you can't. Sorry, you're going to jump in with that, Chris. Listen, I love you dearly, but you've got to back this stuff up. If he didn't put out his best team, is your strategy that he should have put out, your thing earlier of Richarlison there and Porro there and Spence
You've
there.
got to be-
Say we had howlers.
Yeah, but you've got to think outside of the box. You've got to be dynamic. You've got to try new things. We've tried this whole style of shit that he continues to persist with. And we've lost, 6-7 games this season? And every one of those performances have been through the floor. It's not working. That's why.
Look, I don't disagree with the performances being through the floor. I think we've been abject to watch, and the usual.
Those down the road, Arsenal, when they were throwing Max Dowman, 15, 16 years of age into first team football. If you're good enough, you're old enough. But Thomas Frank will not take a chance on youth. You've got a bloke there. You will ain't that Luke.
Who has taken a chance on youth at Spurs? Because I'm fascinated to know. Think of all the players that are out on loan.
The issue we do not have a route into the first team, and we just continue. I'm surprised he didn't put Ben Davis on 10 minutes to go when we were 0-0 last night.
I like Ben Davis. He's a bit mean.
We are celebrating the exit from the club of a bloke who sits down to take a piss. We've now got a manager who, when he serves his missus, it's only ever in the missionary position. He has got no creativity or excitement.
I'm sorry. I've got to stop you there quick. There's another position.
He doesn't take it.
Hang on. Let's just stop the tape and review that. We're going to go to very awkward wording services. What?
What? If anybody who was falling asleep, that suddenly woke him up.
Yeah, I'd like to apologise for anybody who's having an out-of-body experience with the Kama Sutra kid down there.
And I read an interesting comment. I read a comment last night that made me chuckle. Starting 8 defensive players against Brentford. I don't want this prick sacked. I want him tried at The Hague for war crimes. And I thought, there we go.
Can I just say though? But the thing is, I do, having seen it myself, I do get where a lot of people like yourself are coming from, Chris, in terms of like the football is dire. Except I totally get that. I think everybody can acknowledge that because it's plain for everybody to see. But my thought here still, even though it's every now and again, every little game where we have like this, it's just being chipped away a little bit. But my resolve still very much is, let's get this guy to have a proper full squad to choose from. Let's have some better players in, if we can get them in within the window. God knows, with our reputation the way we are. Let's just see what he can do, because we've been through this cycle of rinse, repeat, sack, rinse, repeat, sack. It's at some stage, and it has to, whether it could have been Nuno, it could have been Mourinho, it could have been Conte, it could have been anybody. We keep doing this, and all we're doing is perpetuating the myth that every other supporter and every other club says about us is that we're as supporters, and that's not just us three, but everybody, that we seem to want the impossible. That we want this, we want to have the best manager, to have the best football and the best players. But we know that's not the reality. We know that this club never does that. But we've got to give Frank at least an opportunity to display that. Because I know we don't want to go back to history. Ange had 2 seasons. It's ridiculous to say that someone like Frank. Otherwise, we'll just go, "Oh, Frank was Nuno," and so therefore, what we're saying is, this board can't choose a manager. Well, we've chosen a manager. We've got to stick with him at least for a window or 2. Otherwise, what is the point? We may as well just keep saying, "Tell you what, we'll just hire managers in 6-month cycles."
Do you know the funny thing? Last night we played a Brentford team whose set piece coach took over. He lost his 3 best players, and Buemo, Visser, and Nordgaard in midfield to Arsenal. And now he's had exactly the same amount of games as Frank, and he's higher in the table, and he's arguably playing better football, and he's probably got a better squad.
I totally agree with you on that, Chris. Totally agree with you. What I would say is that they, of all those disadvantages, they had one colossal advantage, which you haven't named, which I find strange, is they didn't have Daniel Levy on their board. And so when he did, no, because when he had out all of the good stuff was creamed off the top, right, of what he had. What was left was a football club that wasn't used to living on fresh air. This garbage we've got in. And I'm going to, listen, I won't go through every single player because it will send you to sleep. But Matthias Tell, Allah bleeding Luya. Do me a favour. This is another player. He could have played on the roof. He could have played the drums. He could have been playing in the ice cream van up the road. Wouldn't have made a jot of difference. He's an inescapably stupid, bad footballer. We got absolutely bent over and interfered with in more than one position by Daniel Levy, who gave Bayern Munich the deal of their dreams with Harry Kane. So he is a waste of space. I'm not even prepared to discuss him. Bentancur, another dullard who's been hanging around for bleeding ever. None of these guys stand up to any scrutiny. None of them.
How dare you? 20 minutes in, you haven't recognised Daniel's MBE, CBE, or OBE, or whatever it is.
Well, I hope it keeps him. I hope it keeps him warm on those cold winter nights that are going to paralyse his dreams for the rest of his life. And I hope while his shares are being torn out of his spine by the Lewis family, he thinks to himself, "Oh, yeah, maybe super."
Can I just ask a question on that? So, services to charity and the community, what were they then?
Well, if you read the books, like the profit and loss sheets, this is my understanding that Spurs have pumped a load of cash into deprived areas in Haringey and 17 and such. Personally, I think if you actually look at the actual net value of the Tottenham Hotspur Trust and the foundations and all the rest of it, it's window dressing.
So they've recognised.
So the Sainsbury's, so do Tesco, so do everybody. So well, what? It's
don't forget Daniel. Sorry, Daniel. Yeah, go on.
Difference is the surrounding areas to Tottenham may be described by some as a toilet. So when you're looking for massive outside investment, you're trying to bring blue chip companies in, you have to window dress the locality. So
we've had a letter from a young man called Daniel. He's running a football club, and he thinks he's done a really good job. Jingle jangle jewelry.
It just. I mean, that's this to some degree. If anything, what Ange, in some respects, you got to give Ange a little bit of credit, because what he did, he managed for a little while to window dress the team. What we're now seeing is it laid in its barest form, and I do feel that regardless of what the tactics were, Frank. And one thing is, I will say, the tactics were wrong. I think he got the selection wrong last night, and I agree with you, Chris. I think he could have been a little bit more aggressive. However, regardless of all that, when I look at those players last night, and the large majority of players, very little of them, and this is not something that you train somebody to do in training. You do not train somebody to not be able to pass a fucking ball. And not one of them could lay a pass out last night of any description of any real meaning.
We could, but they were all backwards and sideways. H, you're good with stats. What was the take on backwards and sideways play?
Dominated every single player. Dominated every single player. I'm not going to. But you see, the rationale of that, you've got two ways to look at it, because stats only reinforce or strike out the point you're trying to say, and that's why.
My point is, it's forward part. It's the passes that mean something. I'm referring to here. Not
correct.
Passing to somebody who is not being challenged by anybody else is not really a pass. It might be. Yes, it's a pass. Physically, it's a pass, but it's not a pass of any meaning. I'm talking about where they had the ball, where they could have passed to somebody, where they were either going forward or it was in a meaningful position, and time after time after time that failed miserably. They were incapable of doing it.
The stuff you're looking for in meaningful passing is stuff that is dynamic, that makes you go, whoa, that was good, and then springs people forward, and otherwise turns stuff into attacking, visually entertaining, could lead to a goal type stuff. We didn't do anything close to that all game. I don't believe, and I've got to say this because this is my shtick, if you like. Nothing has been revealed since Postecoglou left. He lost 22 games. We are repeating the same cycle. He finished 17th. We're bang on target for doing that or something very similar. Oh, but he won a trophy. Yes, he won a trophy in the second worst European competition in the world by beating teams that were 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I think one of them was 11-1. And those are odds you would only back in the Grand National, because in a conventional horse race, those horses were never going to be a threat to whichever horse ultimately won. Now, you can hold up to the light, you can bite it to see if it's made of wood, but you can't argue with it. This squad is junk. Now, you might have your favourites. You might have. I don't care. I genuinely don't care. I don't love Frank. I've got no time for anybody. I think the whole thing wants throwing in the dustbin at this stage. But my take on this is that if you want a repeat of the best that we've had in recent years, then you go down this blind alley of the fat, out of date, mentally unaware, socially challenged Australian, and you compete. I mean, he says, "Oh yeah, it was a strategy." Nobody in their right mind. Oh, sorry, Australians, of course. Nobody in their right mind has a strategy whereby you throw the league in order to win some, and I'm going to say it, a much regulated, devalued, whatever you want to call it, cup. Because we didn't win the European Cup, and that was why they were singing it, because they wanted to give it more value than it had. It's like presenting some old bow wow to all your friends as a supermodel. No, she's not. Her name's Janice, and she works on the tills at Asda. You know, no disrespect to anybody, but most of the ladies you see are working on the tills at Asda, if they had that about them, that sex appeal, they would be doing modelling or something more interesting with their lives and saying, "Would you like a bag?"
Other Janices and other supermarkets are available.
Exactly. And if you want really elderly, sophisticated ones, there's always Morrison's, of course. But no, the reality is that this squad has been junk for a while. And you want to change, Frank? Be my guest. Let's set fire to him.
Very much.
No. You're be my guest. So we've tried some of the best managers in the world, whether you like them or not. Their CVs tell us all. We don't care about the feelings in your head. They've tried some of the best managers in the world. They can't get a tune out of them. So what's your plan? Who would you bring in? And if you're going to say the bloke from Crystal Palace, you are the same mental patients, the same maniacs who say, well, look at Bobby Kickerball over at Kickerball FC. He's had a good couple of 6 weeks. We should put him up front. This short-termism, this let's grab the next rising balloon. Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It might have worked once, but that isn't a good sample group. Seeing somebody else's dinner, isn't it the dog that's got the bone in its mouth? Aesop's fable, and he goes, "Cool, that dog's got a bone." He's looking in the stream. Well, I want his bone as well. And of course, he drops his own bone and he's left with no bones. This is the stupidity of your average human being, I have to say, because Aesop's fable is not exactly created for the Tottenham fan base. You have to row a path which brings together some sense of intelligence and some sense of accountability. And at Tottenham, we don't have it. We win a fifth-rate trophy, we're shouting, "We won the World Cup." You need to have a lie down on a couch and get some counselling because you're not reflecting what's happening. I dread to think, because I'm not mentally ill, and yes, I do attack people who have got something wrong with them because I'm hot. No, it's just having a laugh. It's the way human beings work. They decided, I don't know who it was, it might have been a committee, that would make humans the top of the food chain because giraffes didn't crack mean jokes, right? That's the way the world works. So embrace it. But we look at other. Oh, I'd like one of those. Yeah, I'd like lots of things, but I don't sit at home pretending to be poorly so I can get a dole check and go out and buy sweets. I work as hard as I can. I try to think. I try to do all sorts of things whereby I can improve my situation. So looking at the bloke over the road, go, oh, he's got a nice disability card. I'll go into the dole office with a limp. Doesn't work. You're out of your minds. Oh, hang on a minute. It does work because everybody's got a disability card these days.
That's not entirely true, is it, though? I know, you've feigned illness in the past for the purposes of the district nurse visiting.
I tell you what, I've been known to drag a limb getting out the car park.
Yeah, priapism doesn't count as a disability.
That's harsh, even by your standards. But no, but this idea of looking at the bloke up the road and going, "Oh, I wish I had one of them." You've got to put your hours in. Look, I'm going to say it again. The country is broken, right? I'm telling you now. I'm calling it because I've actually left my fucking office. The country is broken. I have had not even stand-up rows, but I have humiliated a number of artisans as my father would have called them, workmen, tradesmen, electricians. No, you don't get paid cash at the end of the day. You provide an invoice like a grown-up. But you said, no, I didn't. We never had that conversation. You are emotionally overwrought and telling me that you should be paid ahead of everybody else. It's not happening. The country is completely screwed. And this mindset of I want, therefore I should get is now fully endorsed by the fan base of this club and probably everybody else. Yeah, there you go, silence. Because there is an absolute feebleness to the quality of thinking that's going on amongst people at the moment. One bloke said, we agreed work on completion. I said, who did you have that conversation with? He goes, yeah, but you were desperate. I said, no. I said, perhaps I gave you too much information and your brain ran riot. I told you that the electrician that you were hopefully going to be replacing had been poorly, been unwell. He was a man in his 70s. He was retired, very good electrician, but he got COVID. And we didn't think he was going to be back within the time frame. I wasn't on my knees. I wasn't pounding the carpet with my fists. But you were so stupid, you latched upon what I said, extrapolated it, and turned it into the fact that you were going to be Bruce Willis in the Nakatomi building, wandering around with a bloodstained vest. No. All we wanted, mate, was somebody to put a couple of sockets in. But you lost your mind. But I digress.
Chris.
Some people don't like hearing about this stuff. But it's true.
Don't worry, Chris. Ryan Mason will be available soon.
Well, yeah, it looks increasingly likely, doesn't it?
Can't believe that hasn't worked. Honestly, I'm bewildered and befuddled.
Yeah, but honestly, no, it's a genuine question. Honestly, from your perspective, given that what talent there may be available, what do you think, Chris? Who do you think would be a better solution to what we have than right now?
Well, you could look at Maresca's become available. He's won things with Chelsea. Young manager, follow the principles of Pep. I'm not saying
has he just been fired.
I like that. He walked out. He walked
it's
out.
A bit of both, isn't it? There's a little bit of both, isn't there? By mutual consent, which basically means they pissed each other off.
Right.
Yeah.
So this, again, without being personal, I'm just replying to your comment. So you're saying that we should look through somebody else's dustbin that didn't work?
It's not a dustbin.
That strikes me as even weirder as looking at Glasner.
Well, I didn't say Glasner, did I? But then you could have a look at...
I did. And his name's been mentioned before on this show, it has.
You could have a look at Xavi. He's available. Or if you wanted to really do that thing that we talk about and to buy into long-term projects, what about Kieran McKenna? He's plays nice football. He's got Ipswich motoring. They're climbing up the leagues. But I maintain...
say that again. He's got Ipswich motoring. Which division are they in?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, does it?
It does, because if you're going to say, and I would definitely say, I agree with you, Frank is out of his depth, given the circumstances.
You agree with me. So the last 31 minutes have all been for nothing.
No, because you were hearing other stuff and pinning it together, like that electrician I spoke to, who also had difficulty with listening to what I said and quoting me verbatim. Given the conditions, given the circumstances, the old donkeys that he's got to choose from, and the mentally ill people he's got playing for him, Frank is out of his depth. When he was at Brentford, where he didn't have Daniel Levy, flooding the training ground with punts and morons, he did really well. His margin on players was 70 to 80%. He was a success story. You can't argue. And
I'm not interested in margins on players. I'm interested in winning things. And Brentford...
Well, they won promotion. They won promotion to the Premier League.
Had a good win with the fans because he'd gotten promoted via the playoffs out of the Championship. But he never actually won anything. His mandate at Brentford was to secure Premiership football for the finance.
What's Kieran McKenna on?
Well, he's a young coach, isn't he? He's not a bloke. He's not a bloke. He's in his, what is he, 50s?
I think, Chris, just from my...
And it's the footballing rationale that I'm interested in.
I can understand what you're saying, Chris.
No player is going to come to Tottenham as a big name, looking at the shit that he's delivering week out. Any player who was linked with a move and their agent said, Tottenham, if they sat there and watched that last night, they'll be turning the telly off halfway through and thinking, I'm not going there, because he doesn't realise attacking football.
Well, top players don't come to us, Chris, because we don't pay the wages. So there is that to start with, isn't there? We won't pay
change, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I agree, and I don't disagree. I understand where you're coming from, Chris. My again, things like Maresca. Look at the resources Maresca had to work with, though. He had, £1 billion worth of talent there that he could pick and choose from. And if you can't win with that lot, then you can't win with anybody. He comes to us, and he's got what we have seen. So what would you? How do you think he would? Just a genuine question. I'm not being aggressive towards you or anything like that. Just interested in your thought process as much as anything else. So if he comes to us, what do you think he would do better that Frank doesn't do now?
Well, instill attacking football. Look at the side that he had when he got Leicester promoted and they won the championship, and they were head and shoulders over anybody. Record scorers in that league. We're putting all our eggs into one basket on a bloke who's not fit for purpose. He's not dynamic. He's not going to take us on the long-term journey. Top players aren't going to want the time for him. We had such poor experience under Ange Postecoglou. We were hoping that Thomas Frank could enter the building and turn water into wine. We were expecting incredible things. He's not delivering. He's failing his audition.
I would agree with that. I agree with what you said about Maresca, but let me just this was why I'm having this conversation in this way. Is I would argue Frank did that when Brentford got promoted. So there's not a lot of difference there. Right. And the interest, that last comment was about water to wine. Now, is anybody else out there capable of doing that? If we expect it of Frank, why wouldn't we expect it of anybody else who comes to the club?
The squad is bad, and we accept that for years of abuse. But you should be getting so much more with those resources available. And football is bad.
Last term, though, you mentioned Postecoglou as a bright light, but we didn't get anything out of him. He won 10 games out of 15.
After the Postecoglou disaster, Thomas Frank came in as the bright light. Not Postecoglou as the bright light.
Right. But what I'm saying is, but what Frank comes in and he's inherited a team which you've acknowledged are deadbeats, but then you still think tactically they could be elevated.
Well, no, you've got to do different things. You've got a lot of international capped players there. I just do not think he is. Can
I make a point which backs up what you said? You're saying there about you want to more pizzazz and wit and wonder and imagination. The trouble is, we've had managers, and I'm going to use that bloody awful phrase again, with really good CVs like Mourinho, like Conte, who they were faced with a very similar situation at Spurs. They were faced with players that, in an ideal world, they would not have to want to pick. And they played predominantly defensive football. And it was rather hysterical that the fan base, because the fan base, as you know, I don't think much of. I mean, there we go. There we go. This is what do they call it? A microcosm or whatever. Because I wouldn't pick this fan base. If I was setting up a football club tomorrow, I'd pick a totally different fan base. Probably pick a fan base from the Bundesliga. But you got a fan base that look at Mourinho and go, "Oh, I don't like that." And they look at Conte, "Oh, I don't like that." And they look at Nuno Espirito Santo, "Oh, I don't like that." They're all playing the same low mid-block. And even Daniel Levy didn't understand what he was buying. So if you're going to take big name managers, because I'm a tart, I like branded stuff. If you're gonna put a big name manager in, or manager you got, what do you think that they're going to bring? Just thinking about it logically. So McKenna, is it McKenna from Ipswich? You mentioned it. What's he gonna do that's gonna be better than Mourinho, Conte, and Thomas Frank at Spurs? Because that's the bit I'm struggling with. Because the way I see it, we've got poop all over the floor and everybody's walking into the carpet. How does Kieran McKenna float above the carpet so we stop the spread of dog poop?
First of all, I don't focus on the past. I focus on the now and the present and the future. And
we won't be buying your autobiography then.
No, we can go back to all these. It's like we love. We collectively love to keep on talking about Ange. Ange is gone. We need to move on. We need to ignore him.
No, we're not talking about Ange himself, because I've spoken to Ange at length because of his moronic fans. Really annoyed me, and it was like I was using the internet for the first time. Mm-hmm. But the reason I'm referencing Ange is because that is a much quicker way. If I say Ange Postecoglou, it's a much quicker way of saying, here's the names and addresses, the sexual preferences of all the players he had who were monkeys, absolutely useless.
Despite the problems we find ourselves in, very clear problems, Tottenham remains an attractive proposition. And there would be many managers throughout the world who would love to get their hands on that.
No. I don't agree with you.
Of course they do.
I see this as a sinking ship. And it's not to get clicks. I see this as a sinking ship. No manager wins anything there. And the first manager that does win something, and I'm obviously devil's advocate here, we fire. And we've sold all our best players consistently, and we don't buy any new exciting ones.
And this is why this window that we're currently in is going to shape what direction. We'll get a good feeling after this window whether, we're changing and turning a corner, or no, it's the same old shit that we've become indoctrinated around. And
Chris, can I just go back to your point? Sorry, H, can I just go back to your point about McKenna? And it's a good point because so a friend of mine is a scouting coach at Ipswich, so I know the club reasonably well inside out, and they love him there. They absolutely adore him there. But he had a lot of time to get where he was in terms of bringing him up to Premiership. It wasn't just an overnight thing. He had time, and he was given the resources. The new American owners backed him, gave him the resources that allowed him to mould and build that team. And regardless of the football that's at the moment, we can't then say, oh, we should have someone like McKenna in when you're not giving Frank the same opportunity.
Yeah, but Frank's, you can see from the outset, Frank isn't about attractive free-flowing football. He's about.
You don't know that, Chris, until he's been given time, do you? You don't know that.
I don't even care about time. It's resources.
That he's not
it's resources. He's had no resources. If you could give the best football coach in the world, let's make up a third option here. Right, the bestest, most fabulous football coach the world has ever seen. Never lost a game. I can fix that for you, mate. I can fix that for you with this squad. Your reputation will come undone like a child's birthday, Christmas present on Christmas morning. So fast, you'll think it's magic. I'll give you this squad: Matthias Tell, Odebear, Championship junk. The problem we've got, you say, and I understand why you say it, but this is Spurs an attractive proposition. They are, if like me and you two have been in this thing that our parents did to us or whatever happened to us 40 years ago. Yes, they are an attractive proposition because I wake up and I'm a Spurs fan. I'm never, ever going to start supporting anybody else. But the reality is the biggest moves, the biggest shakes we've made in the last decade, last 20 years, have been in the Deloitte Money League. And guess what? It's a money league. It's not football.
We're not Spurs supporters, H. We're just all suffering from Stockholm syndrome.
Good.
I listen and I respect your thoughts, but mine aren't going to change. And
no, I'm not trying to change them. I'm not selling a product.
I'm not going to be bullied into getting on your train.
Oh, don't be bullied, Chris.
I've
Chris,
seen you in real life, Chris. You don't get bullied by anybody, mate.
I'm not getting on the Frank train. I'm off it.
Chris, put the machine guns and the dynamite down and say to yourself, I'm not going to be bullied.
I've seen you in real life, fella. There's no way you're being bullied by anybody.
You couldn't be bullied by a falling building. So don't play the card with us. It just won't cut it. We've met you in real life.
I honestly, Chris, I respect that opinion, and the fact that you're sticking to your guns is you believe in your opinion. Absolutely fair play, and that's why I think we get on so well as a group, because we respect each other's opinion. I just can't see how changing.
I wouldn't go that far.
Status quo is actually going to make that difference.
I'll have a ton with you each now that by the first game of next season, Frank's not the manager.
Well, I don't have any spare money because I've sunk it all into a pub. So there you go.
That disappoints me, Chris, because that's one of those ones where it's a bit of that's a little bit of a desperate argument, I'm afraid, where you start to say, "Oh, I'm going to bet you £100." Well, that's great, but that doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things.
He's managing.
Doesn't mean anything.
He's managing himself out of the building. He's doing it himself.
Potentially, that could be the case. But I just say, let's give him a couple of. First of all, the thing is that ultimately, get rid of Frank, get somebody else, but the ownership hasn't changed.
Correct.
So what happens next? So until the ownership changes their attitude and opinion on this club and about the way the club is run, about the players we buy, about the salaries we pay, nothing else is going to matter, because it doesn't matter what manager comes in. It's going to be same old regardless.
Well, let's deconstruct this further to go to, and this isn't an attack on Chris, because I do admire him for standing his ground, but then we've met him in real life, and standing his ground is what he does for the moment he gets out of bed. But the reality is, let me try these two, I would say, very conflicting ideas and see if we can hold them in our heads at the same time. So you say that Tottenham Hotspur is eminently investable, attractive to people. And then you say you're going to bring in Kieran McKenna or another manager. And you're going to say, right, we don't want a repeat of what went on with the other guys. So we want you to, and I think your phrase was shake the box and play more on attacking football with these old donkeys, including Richarlison. I cannot see Kieran McKenna, because what happened is what happened with Frank, what happened with Postecoglou, who, we got turned down by numerous managers, including Arne Slot, before Postecoglou, and we've had an absolute problem since the credibility collapsed beneath us with Pochettino. We've had a problem whereby people are coming into the job at Spurs, and I think this is the real carrot of joining Tottenham Hotspur in any capacity, is you get the name on your CV and you get a lot of money. And Postecoglou is wandering around with 26 million quid in his back pocket, or whatever. I think that tells us more about his achievements at Spurs. And not God knows how much money he managed to fleece out of Nottingham Forest. If I was him, I'd never, ever entertain doing football at a professional level ever again. Why would I listen to all the people telling me what a lump I am when I've got so much cash? It's just insane. Absolutely insane. So you're going to say to Kieran McKenna, come to Tottenham Hotspur, well, we'll give you arguably, say, 15 million quid straight into your bank account at the end of the process. But we're not going to do anything radical, because we never do anything radical or anything that favours football. But we're going to ask you to get a tune out of Richarlison, because we're going to probably extend his contract.
When you go into a role,
Kieran McKenna is not. I have no ability to see into the future, but no manager of any substance is going to leap on the Spurs bus on the basis of the fact that he's hoping to get a tune out of these deadbeats, these absolute scumbag players that we've got. Romero, I mean, another guy whose head is somewhere else. These are the unmanageables at this stage. They really are. I'm waiting. I'll tell you what, if you want 100 quid bet, I bet you by before next summer, before the close of this season, they're complaining about the training again. That's the only thing you can bet on with these guys, is that they will let you down.
I'll bet you one thing, and we can all agree on this. Bill Nicholson will be looking down from heaven on this club thinking, what the fuck has this shower shit turned into?
Well, I think Bill Nicholson in his afterlife is probably made his decision up pretty soon after he passed this world, that he wasn't going to waste another moment's thought on this bunch of morons.
Well, I said last night in the group chat, didn't I? What last night suggested to me was how much this club had been, how the team as a whole had been shored, I can't remember, the phraseology escapes me right, but how much the Gloss, Son, and Kane in their pomp actually brought onto the rest of the team, and how now they're gone, we have nothing. Correct. We have nothing.
Correct. And what we do have, and it's rather bemusing, what we do have is, once you remove that undeniable class that they had as footballers, their work rate, their talent, all the good stuff, what we have is a product which the club has been endorsing forever, with these little nitwits and that cabbage that comes on at full time and goes, difficult game, but it's not all about winning, is it? And we have these what's in the box. Here's Johnny driving a sponsored vehicle around. We have all the flim-flam and the flannel, but no gift. We are all fur coat, no knickers.
All the gear and no idea.
Correct. An absolute joke. I mean, I could go through all of them, but the player ratings I'm seeing that people have given, because we now have this diseased journalistic thing where I don't know if you're aware of this, but now the race is on. Right, you've got to believe how stupid these people is. The race is on to get all of your material out so fast that it can be picked up by AI. And do you know what you get back for that? Do you know what you get back? Do you know what the prize is? You get people seeing that your player rating for Romero came from Spurs Web or from the Boy Hotspur. You don't get any fucking money. You don't get any traffic. You get an acknowledgement of anybody who can be bothered to read at the foot of the thing, and it's the stuff that anybody else that's using to create a post or add to an article edits out. What it is a race. It's not even a race to the bottom. It's a race to nowhere. This is like you going into your front room, throwing a cushion on the floor, running around it endlessly, and then your mummy shouting, your mummy shouting, "Did you win?" "Yes, I ran around the cushion more than anybody else." This is
Well,
what
there
we
is
become
this.
as human beings.
There is this theory, H, isn't there? There is this theory. Scientists have got this theory, haven't they, about the fact that the universe is a great big simulation. If that's the case, all I can suggest is Tottenham Hotspur. ENIC have managed to put Tottenham Hotspur as the only glitch in the fucking matrix.
Yeah,
Because everybody else seems to be doing quite well out of it, and we're not.
Because none of it stands up to any scrutiny.
Yeah.
And you've got people waiting for the latest incomprehensible Chinese algebra headline from Alistair Gold, My Beer. I mean, this is beyond parody. The whole thing is beyond parody. And you want to read a thoughtful article about football, then you click on The Athletic, you get 3,000 words, which start off with approximately after, Bill Nicholson was a fetus. Give you the entire history of the universe.
I do agree with one thing. I think what Chris did was that. I think that whether it was you or Chris, I can't remember. But going back to some of these people we've got on loan at the moment, out on loan, the likes of Vuskovic and what have you. Yeah. We've got to get somebody. If we truly believed in those players in their terms of their development, one of the comments I read about Vuskovic was he saying he wants to focus on his development. I'm sorry, but who pays his fucking wages? Oh, that would be the club. So if I'm telling you, you get back here and you start playing in the first team, you get back here and you start playing in the first team. That's the way things work. When you're an employee, you are told what you are going to do. So screw that for a game of soldiers. If you're good enough, and he seems to be good enough, get him back in the first team now. End of story.
Or the two that we brought in the summer, Tell and the Japanese Mr. Miyagi kid, they're both now available for loan as we want to farm them out to get first team football. So what was the point of spending £46 million collectively on the two of them in the summer?
You know what the problem is there? You two, you're both having the same thing there, that dialogue. You're talking like you're interested in football. We're being run like we're a spreadsheet somewhere in a multi-level business. Sorry, we're interested in getting the Formula One thing working, and we're interested in having personal appearances from pop stars. And you're wanging on about what? Sorry, you have to pass that to your department supervisor, and then that'll be brought to the attention at the next. That's where we are. We're an anchor tenant. We've got if you put us into Google Maps, it's got the NFL logo in the middle of the park. But you're talking about these. I mean, these kids at the academy. Oh, I'd really like to see so and so. Well, you're gonna have to go around his house because nobody's seeing him. He's not getting any games for the players for the team that he's playing for. That's a recurring theme at the moment. And Spurs don't play youth players unless we're beating somebody 5-0 and it's the last 3 minutes of the game.
A lot of people were beating Frank over the head with about the fact he doesn't play Mathis Tell. Oh, but he signed him. Well, no, if he wants him to go out on loan, clearly he doesn't rate him. So in my view, he wasn't a Frank signing.
He wasn't a Frank signing because that was part of the Harry Kane deal. And
that's the deal that was being used to beat him over the head with, though, H, wasn't it?
No.
He endorsed him, so therefore he was there.
The trouble is, I had an ongoing thing, and don't get me wrong, I do. I'm not an elephant completely. I do forget and give up on a lot of stuff. But I used to have a guy come onto the .com every other week or whatever, and he spoke in the most patronising way imaginable, telling me that I got it completely wrong and that there was a committee and that the team coach, whoever it was, Pochettino or whatever, was the head of that committee that looked at transfers and was part of the process that filtered it all down through the funnel. And at the end, something dripped out and it came with everybody's endorsement. It was a beautiful product. It was like the way they made the finest chocolate in the Willy Wonka factory. It was garbage. And I just said to him, you're talking garbage. And I didn't say that because I didn't like Daniel Levy. It's because I heard from lots and lots of people that this was utter bin juice. Total waste of everybody's time. Foul nonsense. And then we've had it confirmed publicly over numerous instances. Use the internet, kids. You're watching us on the internet. Use the internet. That the managers inherit players. They have players foist upon them. To use that Shakespearean
Conte's speech at the game of Southampton was basically the ultimate confirmation of exactly where Tottenham was.
And we'd had lots of clues before, even with stuff that was strictly on the record. There has never been a Spurs manager, to the best of my knowledge, in the last 25 years that says, yeah, I really want him, and they went out and bought him. They just don't do it like that. And that's me lamenting the age of Bill Nicholson, Brian Clough, Sir Alex Ferguson, and all those other names that people don't use because they were genuinely talented coaches. But so this idea, the deal, and we know the interference that Levy has inflicted upon us. If you're still struggling with this, go and spend your. Why are you here? Go and watch the Spectrum Brothers. You know, go and watch Chris Chromosome Cowlin. These people are deranged. You will love their work, but Spurs coaches don't get to pick their players, and that's why we end up with junk. Matthias Tell was simply to make the deal sweeter for Bayern Munich. Daniel Levy is a coward. We know he's a coward. We're going to see more of his cowardice before this show is over. The Daniel Levy show is over. And he did that to sweeten the deal. And he's so stupid that he's actually impressed by other people, which is like being the biggest guy on the internet. Well done. Yeah, you've got 1 million followers, but who are you? You're actually just a bit of a nobody, really. But you don't swear. You don't tell people to go get back into bed with their sister. You're a nice enough person. You don't say anything awful. And that's how you survive online. And so the idea that Matthias Tell was a must-have of anybody to do with the football at Tottenham, I'm sorry, but you need to go and see your GP because your brain doesn't
did
work.
I not hear at some stage last night? They were. I'm sure I did hear it because I was sure I wasn't imagining it. They were singing, you know, "We've got Ali Deli Ali," weren't they? At some stage.
Yeah.
Last
They were
night.
going through the old class. They were happy with.
It was like I think Ericsson came out at one stage as well, didn't he? As well. The thing is, kids, we haven't got them. We don't have them. So, but I understand the lament behind it. I really do. But when you look at what we have now, we don't have anybody of that equivalent quality.
No, we don't. No, we don't. And the thing is, this is the thing that kills me. Even in the afterlife of these players, Ericsson, who effectively went on strike for 2 seasons, Dele Alli, who was so distracted because of his mental health issues and because he's an alcoholic and because he likes getting crappy tattoos and dating supermodels. I mean, people who weren't fit to even kick a football around. You know, you remember being at school and the headmaster would shout over, "Jones, put that ball away, come into the geography class immediately." "Oh, sorry, sir." These were the nitwits that didn't even have a concentration span to kick a ball about while the geography class was on. And they couldn't sustain a career at Spurs. Dele Alli, for example. Absolute disaster. Yes, he had a couple of good seasons. Yes, he scored some goals. Yes, he got lots of goals and assists. But he didn't do anything outside of them. He's not in anybody's Hall of Fame. What he is, he's a wet dream to most of the incels that follow this flipping club.
But
and they're out there lamenting him when we're effectively losing at Brentford because we played like losers. I mean, that just tells you exactly where we are.
You are right, though, Chris, in that we deserve better, and certainly the fan, but the people like yourself and the money, the people who go to these games on a New Year's Day.
Chris has pumped so much money.
They absolutely deserve better. But Enix isn't interested in giving you better. They're only interested in getting your money. And that's the reason why we are where we are.
Oh, in which case, I hope they sell up and disappear fairly quickly then.
Well, they won't, will they? They won't. They're hanging on forever. It's like the way the high street has gone, right? I'll drag it back into retail. Nobody likes to hear about the real world, but drag it into retail. Look, lots of people used to say, "Oh, I've been a customer at Next for all my life. I've been a customer at Marks and Spencer's." And how do you get rewarded by those companies in the 2020s? They hold a sale and then they bring in all the stuff from the Far East that they've had made up for $1 out in China. Mm-hmm. The quality of stuff that companies are putting out, and it's the business model. It's the business model that works. And I think, Tony, this goes back to your thing about this being a reality thing, this conspiracy of this being a sort of,
there's a simulation theory, yeah.
The simulation theory, I am afraid it kind of rings true. So what we'll do is we'll as a Dragon's Den proposition, we'll take over your business selling whatever product it is, let's say flip-flops. And we need to make a return of 10 times our investment. So we'll give you £10 because we need to make £100 because all the other shit investments we make, they don't really work. So it's a 1 out of 10 home run we're looking for to break even. And then what they do is they effectively asset strip the flip-flop company. I knew a firm when I was in the rag trade, and they made socks. This is super boring, but this is where we are in the world. This is how the things. That was 20 years ago. They made really good socks. Socks are exciting. Marks and Spencer's put in more and more orders, ever increasing orders, until eventually the company couldn't supply anybody apart from Marks and Spencer's. And I've got a similar story with WH Smith's as well. And in the end, they were wholly reliant upon Marks and Spencer's. And then Marks and Spencer's, of course, turned around to them and said, well, you know, we're paying £4.32 for a pair of socks. We're now going to pay you £1. It was brutal. And they said, but we can't do that. And he goes, okay. And Marks and Spencer's then effectively overtook the company, ran the factory. And the product in quality had to go through the floor in order to get the price down. But I think they were then had a Mickey Mouse cost price of £1.97 or something. It was a bit bigger than £1. But the point being is, it's all about takeover, deceive, and destroy. And that's what all these people are doing. And Spurs are possibly one of the very first. Because everybody goes, oh, you wouldn't want to do a Leeds, but Leeds are still trading. Leeds was a Ponzi scheme when it went wrong. You know, that was unchecked spending. But Spurs, we have been asset stripped from within. There is nothing there anymore. You're then going to buy, they will be selling Sonny shirts forever. You know, but Sonny's gone. There will be a Sonny hologram at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to keep the myth going.
So we bought a pair of socks for Christmas, and I did that thing of opening the Christmas present, taking one look, throwing them to one side. Day later,
sorry about that, mate.
A day later, put the socks on, go to a family event. Halfway through the evening, my 70-something-year-old father said, son, can I ask you a question? Yes, Dad, what's that? Why are you wearing pink socks with unicorns wearing a rainbow flag around their necks? And I looked and thought, yeah, you've got a very good point there.
Wow.
They must have been from age because he's that sort of an inclusive person.
Inclusive.
I'm all about enforcing the gender neutralizing love.
Harry DEI Hotspur, that's the man.
DEIE. No, but I mean, it is seriously. I think we've been asset stripped from within, and I think they realise that they've gone too far, and they're going to pin it on Levy.
But now we're getting 33.5 million back for Brennan Johnson. There is a God somewhere in this universe.
Well, I hope they've got lots of toilet roll, because he'll want to dab the end of it before he stands up, won't he?
I bet the
he was our top scorer last season, lads. Come on, he was our top scorer last season.
I mean, that's how bad it's become.
There's everything that's wrong with this football club when Brennan Johnson's your top scorer.
Exactly that. Went missing for large parts of the season, and this season, okay, it's not as much opportunity. Even when he was playing, he went missing. He was we had to go and send out hostage rescue teams for him.
There's been more regular sightings of Madeline McCann than there have been of Brennan Johnson on the football pitch.
Yeah, H, you did let her out for Christmas. Come on, H, you did let her out for Christmas, didn't you?
There was a mince pie went missing. That's all I'm prepared to say. so listen, we've hit the hour mark. I've got to be somewhere.
I need to disappear. Yeah, same here.
So, is it Sunderland next?
Sunderland at home.
I'll be there on Sunday. I'll be giving it loads of Thomas, we love you.
Up your bum. Yep. Okay. So predictions for Sunderland very quickly for anybody who gives a damn. Tony.
Now go on, Chris. You go. You was about to go in full flavour there, mate.
I think we lose 2-0. I think they've got too much grit about them. When you consider that the percentage of their best players are playing over in the African Cup of Nations, look at what they did against Man City last night. The commitment, passion, and dedication didn't give Man City a kick. Oh, and Savinio was that good that they took him off after 52 minutes.
I don't think you're a true fan, and I think we're only going to lose 1-0. Tony?
I think we'll win 1-0.
Get out, splitter.
Been on the laughing gas as Basuma being round your drum.
Hey, look,
I was on the laughing gas, and I mastered the art of filling up the 2026 things for the pub.
Excuse me, I am not with the Judean People's Front. I'm with the People's Front of Judea. Thank you very much.
It's every man's right to be a woman. And on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you for more laughter, angst, and repressed aggression after the Sunderland game, whenever that may be. So it won't be Sunday.